Okay, so I've been kind of teasing you about it the last couple of weeks, and I'm so excited to tell y'all about like this framework that kind of like I downloaded, I guess. But so this is not anything new. Like there is no new content out there. Everything has been recycled and repurposed and reframed through whoever's mind, read it and put the pieces together and then spat it back out. So this is not new stuff. This is just the way that I've been doing it without realizing it. So I like actually wrote it all down, organized it, and kind of expanded it a little bit. And now I'm going to share it with y'all. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I made like a graphic for it. How do I share my, okay, this one. Okay, so I created a graphic, so I just want to go step by step. So if you're going to sit down and plan out content for a week, for 2 weeks, for a month, for a quarter, whatever it is, this is like the step by step that I've been going through. So the very first thing is to look back at what you've posted before. You don't need to take notes because I'm going to post it in the group after this video. So first thing is look back at the previous content that you've posted, whether it's over the past week or the past month or whatever. What was the content that did really well? What's the stuff that people commented on, asked you questions about? What did people that you were talking to like in real life, like your clients or whoever, what were they talking to you about? What were the questions that they were asking you? So look at all that stuff, take some notes. What was it? Was it the photo that they commented about? Was it the content that you were actually talking about? Were they asking questions or were they just saying, oh, this is this is helpful? What did you have like on Instagram? Did you go back and look at how many times your post was saved? Because that helps with that's good for the algorithm too. Look at what posts did well and what posts didn't do that well, so that you can compare and look at them and say, okay, well, this kind of content did really well, this kind of content not so much. And that way you can kind of do more of what went well and don't do what didn't go well, obviously. So that's what you'll do differently. So for me, whenever I looked back, what got the most engagement was posts that I was like being helpful as far as what to do in your marketing, social media, planning content, just like helpful stuff. And then like the lead magnets that I created for like email opt-ins. People talked about that a lot too. So when I wrote out a couple of posts to plan these out to show y'all how I'm using scheduling tools, that's kind of what I focused on. So that's kind of what I looked at. And then so for each kind of post, you want to decide what's the goal of this post going to be. Is it going to be for engagement? Is it going to be a sales post? Is it you're trying to increase your following or increase your reach? So based on what your goal is, you're going to have a different call to action and a different way that you go about it. Okay, so then you create the copy, the words, the whatever it is that you're going to talk about. So I wrote down a couple of topics that are basic. As far as I can tell, pretty much everything that you're going to write about can fit into one of these topics somehow. And that would be like something about you, something about me, so behind the scenes about how you're working or what your life looks like behind the scenes of, behind the computer screen or behind the phone screen. Your why. That's really important to me, is talking about your why. The benefits of working with you or hiring you or buying your product. Personal insights. We talk a lot. I think a lot of posts are filtered through personal insights, mostly because it gives the follower, whoever's reading the post, a little bit of how your mind works and like who you are, because you're putting your spin on it. Something that's inspirational or motivational or educational, and then a part where you're featuring a product or a service or like something that you're doing in your business. So those are, in my opinion, the basic topics that you want to decide kind of like something that it kind of fits into. And I think we should all kind of have a little bit of each of these topics spread out across all of our content. So people need to know why you're doing what you're doing, why it matters to you, because they're not necessarily buying the thing or the service. They're buying why you're doing it, and they're buying you, like they're buying your insight and they're buying your help. This is why we need to build the know, like, and trust factor. People need to know a little bit more about you. That's kind of what I just said about my why. People need to know about us. They need to be able to connect with us. Behind the scenes shows them what our real life looks like, because we curate these pictures and we say, hey, this is what my life looks like on Instagram or whatever, but really behind the scenes, it doesn't really look like that, right? That's become a huge issue on social media in general. So we don't want to paint a picture that everything is perfect and we have everything all figured out. We can still talk about behind the scenes what's going on. Or behind the scenes of, like Jessica, you stitching, like you actually going through creating all the steps of creating the product that you end up with, not just the final end product. Some benefits of working with you, that's like why you're different, and why they need to hire you, or they need to, work with you or buy your product, and why it's different than what everybody else is doing. Because that's another part of your why and about me. So it's not, they don't want like this one thing. They want this one thing that comes from you, the person. Things that are inspirational or educational or motivational, like quotes on Instagram do really, really well. Just like a solid white background with a quote on it does really well on Instagram for a lot of people. And then talking about your services and your products is huge, because it kind of takes down the veil, and people don't have to, they can get more familiar with what you offer without having to feel like hesitant to contact you directly. Okay, there's that. And then you always want to add a call to action. So these are some examples of calls to action. Click the link in my in profile or bio or whatever, or click, if you're on Facebook, you can embed the link directly in the post. If you're on Instagram, you have to put the link in your profile and direct them to go to your profile and click the link there. Save this post for later, like if it's educational or like a step-by-step how-to guide or whatever, you can prompt them, you're going to want to save this post for later whenever you go to do this. Tell them to share it to their stories or share it in their feed, so that other people can see it. So that would be an example of growing your reach. Like examples of, okay, I'll go after that later. Share this to your stories, watch my stories. So prompting them to watch your stories is going to, every time you post something later and later, they're going to open up their app and your stories are going to show up first. So stories, whenever you open up Facebook or Instagram, stories are at the top before you even get to the feed. And that's important because Facebook and Instagram are pushing stories more than the feed itself. Stories get more views, partially because that's what people want, and then partially because that's what the platform is pushing. So prompt them to watch your stories and to share it in their stories so that it'll get more views. You can tell them to tag 2 friends, for example, something like that. Send me a direct message on Instagram or a personal message on Facebook. So an example, calls to action that would be growing your engagement would be clicking the link, saving the post, sharing. Something, if you want them, if it's a sales post, if you want to push your sales, you would want them to maybe click the link, or maybe you would want them to send you a message. That would be specifically for sales. If you're trying to grow your following, you would tell them, prompt them to like your page, or maybe tag 2 friends, or something like that. That's going to tell people, hey, go and like my page, or go and like my profile, so that you can get more updates and more information from me whenever I post it next. Growing your reach, that would be tagging 2 friends, share this to your stories, share it to your newsfeed, whichever. So all of those things, they all count as engagement, some of them more specifically than others, but based on what your goal is for the post itself, you're going to want to use an appropriate call to action, because they kind of all they all help you with engagement. But if you want to be specific about what it is that you want them to do, you can choose a different call to action based on that. Okay, so then then you get into like those little things that you can do additionally to kind of expand your reach. So whenever it's appropriate, you can tag people, you can tag places like an actual geolocation, or like a specific store that you're in, because that'll get more views there too. Like if someone goes, say on Instagram, if someone goes to this specific coffee shop that you tagged in your photo, and they look it up and they can like use the geo search, it'll pull up all of the pictures that were tagged with that that specific coffee shop. So they'll be able to see your photo as well. Tag people, places, locations, businesses. So anyone who applies, it has to be something applicable. I don't think anyone here would do this, but there are like people who try to kind of cheat the system and tag accounts that have nothing to do with their post, which is not what we want to do. We want it to be relevant. So we can tag other people maybe who are in the photo or who you're talking about in the post, places, locations, and businesses. All of those things you can tag on Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram, you can add up to 30 hashtags. That's going to definitely expand your reach. When I post something, before I put any, like, if I post something on Instagram and immediately have my hashtags put in at the same time, it gets seen immediately by other people. If I forget to post those hashtags, it basically doesn't really get shown to very many people at all until I put those hashtags in. Maybe just a couple of people who interact with my content frequently, but it takes adding in those hashtags to really get it out there. So that'll even get you get your post visible to people who haven't followed you yet. And you can go into each hashtag and see if it's working for you. So go in and like as you put in the hashtags, it'll pop up like the actual hashtag that's being used will pop up and tell you how many times it's been used before. So you don't want to use a hashtag that has like millions of uses already, because your post in that hashtag is just going to get lost in the shuffle of all of those millions of posts. But you don't want something that has like, a couple of hundred. You want somewhere like, between 1 and 300,000, between 100,000 and 300,000, I would say, is kind of like the sweet spot, because it's not so much that it's overwhelming, but it's not so little that no one sees it. And then, of course, after you post, always share to your stories and share to your personal page if you want to do that on Facebook. So that's the basic outline and framework. And so I went in and created a couple of posts like for the rest of this week and next week to show you how I'm using Planoly and the Facebook scheduler. So I'll go and do that. Any questions so far?
Okay. Personal insights. What do you mean by personal insights?
This is just like talking about basically anything. Like whenever I talk about my morning routine, that's a personal insight. Like I just wrote a post kind of about that. So whenever I realize that I'm scheduling out this content and I don't have to spend so much time thinking about what picture am I going to use and what am I going to write and then posting it every single morning individually, then I have all this free time to do my morning routine. And when I do my morning routine, my day goes so much better. I'm a better person because of it. So like that would be an example of a personal insight.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So what I'm doing is, so I'm using Planoly to automatically schedule and push content to my Instagram and my Facebook page at the same time. But I'm scheduling and I want to schedule and post something different to go into my free Facebook group so that no matter where someone is following me, they're going to see different content. They're not going to open up both apps and see the same content from me. But it's not creating I'm not creating twice as much content to do that. I'm just varying where it's going to be posted on which day. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is Planoly. I have already uploaded a few photos here that I haven't used yet. So here, can you see my cursor? So here and below is my current Instagram feed. So whenever you go to add photos, you go to add to grid first. So you have to have the photo ready to upload. So you add to grid, you upload your photos, and they show up here. And this little box with the U means that it's unscheduled. Okay, so I want to post something on Friday. I'm gonna move this little thing first. Okay, and I never write out my content within the platform that I'm putting it into. So I always put it, like I pretty much always type it out in my notes on my phone. So I have this, I have like 4 written out. And this is like notes on my phone. Like whenever I think of something during the day, I'll add it into my phone and then I can expand on it later when I have more time. So this is 4 that I wrote out for now. So I'm just gonna like copy and then bring it into Planoly. So I'm gonna choose a picture. Let's see. All right, so all I'm gonna do is choose the photo, drag it over here and drop it. And so it goes to Friday. Come on. I'm using like all my internet bandwidth here. Okay. And then I'm just gonna paste my text there. Yeah, that's all in there. Okay, so I have, this is automatically gonna post to Instagram, but I had to upgrade to the paid version of Planoly to also automatically post to Facebook on my page. But I can also do my hashtags in the first comment with that paid plan. So on the free version, it wouldn't let me put my hashtags in the first comment, and it wouldn't let me schedule to both platforms at the same time. That's why I upgraded. It's like $9 a month, I think. Okay, so I'm gonna schedule the date. It's Friday, and I want to do it at 5:45. So the thing about vertical images on Instagram is you can't put a full like regular vertical picture. You have to crop it. So if it's going to automatically schedule, I have to edit the picture and then crop it to 4:5. Maybe. Yeah, that's as big as it goes. And then I click apply. So then it looks like this. So, okay, so I also want to add the location. Oh, I guess I'll have to use doll face. And I want to tag Danielle in it. And so, like if you're doing this, if you're tagging someone on Instagram, when you start typing in their name, it'll automatically pull up their name that you can choose for, like a list of names that you can choose from. But on Planoly, it doesn't do that, so you have to know their whole name. And done. Okay, and then lastly, I want to add in the first comment, my hashtag. So I'm going to click comment and hashtags, add the ones that are already saved there, and then I want to make sure that these work with that photo. The thing about adding hashtags on Planoly versus Instagram is it doesn't pop up and tell you how many hashtags there are, or if the hashtag has ever been created or used before, and that's kind of annoying, but it's still better than having to go and post every day. And probably what I'll actually do is go and look at some of the hashtags that Danielle is using, because I know she's specifically reaching out to pharmacists. And I'll look at what she's using and use some of her hashtags too. Something like that. Okay, so that one's ready to go. And then I just click save, and then on Friday, it'll post all by itself. So as far as a Facebook business page, you have to have it, but it's getting like no traction. Hardly any people are going to see it. And that's why I'm just pushing the same content from Instagram like automatically, because it doesn't require any work from me to do that. I'm focusing more on my free group. So that's where I'm going to go in here next is, what photo did I use? Okay, so what I would do next is go out and schedule the next 3 posts. So I'm doing like 3 posts a week. So now I would go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and post the other 3 photos and captions that I wrote out. And then I would go into my free group and post something different on each day that wasn't going to be on Instagram. So for this one, so whenever you're scheduling to auto post in a Facebook group or on your Facebook business page, you go in and create the post exactly like you would do normally, and you go down to this little icon at the bottom. Instead of clicking post, you're going to click schedule post. So everything else is done exactly the same. Let's see. So let me go in, grab something here. And then just copy and paste. Oh yeah, so the cool thing about Facebook, if you're posting from a computer versus the phone app, you can like create paragraphs, you can insert bulleted lists or numbered lists or quotes. You can do like highlight something, and you can make it bold or make it italic. So that's pretty cool. And you can't do that on a phone. Okay, so I have that in there, and then I'm going to add a photo. And then same thing, I want to tag whoever's in the picture, whoever's applicable, tag the location. It's just taking a long time to upload the photo. Sorry. um, so there are lots of little extra things on Facebook that you can do. I think it's easier to see on a computer versus on the app. So that's another reason that I like scheduling it here versus on my phone. And it's easier to do it like a bunch of them at a time. Come on. It's gonna get there. I'm gonna add an emoji while I wait. Or not. Oh, I see those way up here. Okay. Come on, photo. We have like Alex is watching TV. I have the Zoom call going, plus I'm like uploading photos, and it's just a bunch. A lot of bandwidth. Come on. Okay, here we go. All right, so on the photo, I'm gonna tag people. The people that are in it. No, not edit. So since I'm in a group, it'll only let me post like people that are in the group, which both of these are, so it's fine. And then I'm gonna do a check-in at, where was this? Am I spelling that wrong? Do you know of that place, Jessica Chicory's in Grand Coteau? Oh yeah, Chicory's Cafe. There it is. Okay, so I tagged the people in the photo. So that'll like notify them that they've been tagged in a photo. And I tagged the location. So I don't know if that location would actually see, being that this is in a group. But still, I mean, there are people in the group who know where this place is. So that would be kind of like a hint to them, like, oh, she works in this area where my business is. So, put a little finger in their mind. And I'm going to schedule this to go out on Friday at the same time. So I have 2 posts going out on Friday, but it's 2 different posts. And schedule, and that one's done. Well, maybe. Okay, how does that sound? What do you think about that? Good. So that's it. That's super easy to me. To me, the hardest part is thinking about what am I going to write, and I did that ahead of time. So all I had to do was copy and paste. So really and truly, making yourself schedule out some time to sit down and think about what do I want to say, and then expanding on that and elaborating on it, and then just kind of adding in some of these extra little things like a call to action, something that's you're calling the people to engage with you so that your content will be seen by more people. That's it. Like, it's not hard. It's just training ourselves to make sure that we do it and do it consistently, because when we are consistent and we show up consistently on social media, our content is going to get pushed to more people, and the people who already like our pages are going to see more of what we're doing. So whenever we demonstrate consistency on social media, it demonstrates consistency across all the rest of our business. And it's like setting that habit goal of sticking to doing something that we said we were going to do. And that translates across the rest of our lives. Do you have any questions about any of that?
I was looking to see. So you only do 3 posts per week?
That's what I'm doing, yes. Um,
Okay.
because I think it's more important to have good quality posts
Mm-hmm.
than it is to have a bunch of posts that are not really engaging. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of, I mean, that way it leaves room if I forgot something or I think of something on the fly and I want to create a post. There's days in there that I don't have something scheduled and I can add that in. But it doesn't have to necessarily be something that, like, it's going to show up there whether I think of something or not. Um,
Right.
and I know that I took the time to sit down and think about what do people want to hear from me and did it ahead of time. So I'm not like in the moment stressed out about, oh my God, I have to post today. What am I going to say? And end up creating something on the fly that's not really good quality, you know? So it's
Mm-hmm.
much more important, even if you have, it's better to curate fewer posts that are better quality content than have many posts that don't have super engaging content. So that's,
Gotcha. That makes sense.
yeah. And it's doable for me. Like, you don't have to post 7 days a week. You don't have to post 5 days a week. It's
Mm-hmm.
doable for me, and it's like it's serving me. So I'm happy with 3 a week.
Yeah, because I wrote mine for this week for 5 days, and whenever you did 3, I was like, ooh, that sounds a lot more reasonable than the 5 this week was.
Yeah,
So
don't do something that you're not going to be able to stick to. Now,
yeah.
when the time comes for me to launch something, yeah, I'm going to be posting like maybe twice a day for 5 days a week. Something that I need a lot more traction and building up to that launch. Yeah, I'm going to be posting a lot more frequently and doing a lot more live videos and stuff like that too. So that's not something that I do all the time though, so I don't have to commit to that. But
Gotcha. That makes sense.
still, even when you're not launching, you still need to be consistent. You still need to be growing your audience because you're still running a business whenever you're not launching.
Mm-hmm.
So those people still need to be seeing you and hearing from you even during those times. So that's
Do
why,
you making Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
that to me, that's why having a system, it doesn't have to be this system. It can be any system, whatever system works for you. And you don't have to like follow all the steps exactly, but to me, figure out what's going to work for you, what's doable for you, and what is something that you can commit to so that you actually get it going. It doesn't matter how you do it, it just matters that it gets done because that's what's going to get you traction in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead, what were you going to ask?
Do you plan your stories also?
Not so much like I share a lot of other stories, like I share other people's posts if it's something that resonates with me, but as far as something in the moment, not necessarily. um like today I shared, today's Wednesday, yeah, so today I shared a story that I created, like I created Canva story for it because I put out a new email opt-in offer, like a freebie to download. So I created something for that I'm going to share over and over, like over time, like once a week or twice a week or something like that, so that I'm getting more eyes on it. But that was because there was something unique happening. It wasn't because like I don't do it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do, I don't. Stories are meant to be a little bit less curated so that it's something like people are getting a peek into like the real you, like the uncurated you, the unfiltered you. It still is filtered and still is curated, but it's a little bit more real life and laid back. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
doing a live video where um people are engaging with you one-on-one, like in real time, versus like a pre-recorded video or just a static photo. It's a little bit more personable.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't no, I don't
Yeah,
curate.
That makes sense. That's what I was wondering about, because I always felt like stories are a lot more spur
Informal.
of the moment
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
definitely. Um, but still, like, even like if I'm gonna next time I'm gonna launch something, it's gonna be, I am gonna have like some specific, like, made out story posts that I'm ready to post,
Mhm.
like as far as promoting the launch or whatever, so
Mhm.
that it's getting shown often and it's getting more, more engagement, and it's more informative. But as far as regular weeks, not so much.
Gotcha.
All right. Do you want to see anything else from this? Do you want me to finish planning out the rest of the posts that I created? Or do you pretty much have it?
I think I got it. I've got some notes, and I'm definitely going to be saving that framework for whenever I'm planning out my stuff for next week. So that's
Yeah.
super helpful, because it's like trying to think of what to even talk about. So that gives me some ideas.
Yeah. So as far as what you're doing, some things to think about would be like, what do you have in common with your ideal clients that maybe is not something that's super common? So an uncommon commonality. So those are the things that real people really connect with very strongly and like immediately.
Okay.
Thing that's really unique about you that your ideal client will resonate with.
Okay.
So think about it like you're not just continually selling the product, you're selling the feeling that they're going to get whenever they have this product, or you're selling it's a lifestyle kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
um it's, it's art and it's meaningful, and it's it's portraits of your family. Like, there's a lot that could go into it. It's kind of the same
Mhm.
with family photography. So it's not just the photography, but it's connecting with you as a person. What are the things that matter to you, and what inspired you to start doing this, anyway? Like, what's your story, basically? Like your
Mhm.
story, kind of. So all of those things that's all personal insight.
Gotcha. I think my post that I'm doing tonight has some personal insight. So I'm excited that you're saying that.
Really and truly, everything has personal insight intertwined into it, because um, unless you're just like being robotic and not really infusing your own personality into it, it's all going to have personal insight in it,
Mhm.
because it's coming like through the filter of your brain.
Mhm.
Good.
Yep.
Anything else? Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Okay. So when I hop off of this call, I'm going to go and upload the framework into the membership group. So you'll have that download in there. So you don't need to really take,
Okay.
I didn't want you to take notes on it. But yes, so I'm thinking that one of these calls each month should be, we all come and sit down and plan out our content, like an accountability call. And then as we keep going through it, the more content we can create for a longer period of time, like for the whole month. That would be
Mhm.
cool. Is that something that you would be interested in?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Okay. So I'm thinking we may do that. I'll probably do a poll in the group just to make sure everybody else is good with that. I think probably that's what I meant to do when I started the group, and maybe I got sidetracked. But I think it would help everybody, because I think that's the hardest part. It's the hardest part is not coming up with the content. It's forcing yourself to sit down and create the content. Like, no
Yeah.
distractions, not doing anything else, not thinking about anything else. Sit down and write.
Mhm.
Down and get your ideas out on paper,
Yeah.
on the computer. Okay, so I'm thinking that's what we're gonna do. And the next call will be the 19th, February 19th at 6:30, and it will be about repurposing content. Okay.
That sounds good.
All right. Have a good night. Let me know in the group if y'all need anything from me.
Okay.
Bye.